I think that a lot of creators are afraid to show up with confidence, but you have to remember like a brand is asking for a spot on your page. Like you are the one who's put in the work in developing this audience. You are the one who has got these people who have rallied behind you and have found value in the content that you're providing. A brand is essentially running out of space on your platform that you have made. You deserve to show up with confidence. Welcome to Accidentally Influential, the show for educators, experts, and creators who never meant to build a platform but want to monetize it beyond their own community. I'm Kate.
And I'm T. Combined, we've built an audience of nearly 500,000 followers and landed over $500,000 in brand deals. Now, we help you turn knowledge into cash, content into partnerships, and influence into a business that pays.
You might have become accidentally influential,
but what you do with it now, that part's intentional. Let's make some money.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to Accidentally Influential. I am so freaking excited to be kicking off this episode, mostly because before we started recording, T and I were talking about the topic of today's episode. So I feel like we are juiced up. We're ready to talk about this and share more about how to pitch brands, the real strategies you can use to actually start taking control of your brand partnerships.
Yep. I feel like this is just such an over complicated or undercomplicated thing that people make. Like we're either overthinking it to the point that we're just like not pitching and we're afraid, or we're underthinking it and we're softball pitching completely the wrong way and not landing any brand deals. And so if you've ever like sent a message to a brand and never heard back, if you've ever, typed out some sort of pitch and just felt like, get that cringe feeling like, can I really send this? Or, if you just don't pitch altogether, this episode, it's literally designed for you. So, if you want to have brand partnerships, like pitching is it's a non-negotiable. Like you need to be able to pitch yourself. And I feel like the episodes that have led up to this episode were like preparing you to be able to pitch really strongly and come from this position of like, okay, I'm confident in the value that I bring. And so this is going to be, the little cherry on top today. So
I know. And I was telling T literally before we hopped on this, I was admittedly 5 minutes late for a podcast recording because I was actively pitching a brand
she's like,
in
2
their
minutes,
inbox.
I'm pitching.
And then once we jumped on, I literally was like, oh my God, I already heard back. So if there is some proof that we actually do know what we're talking about here, let that be it. And I guess let's dive straight into it. What do you think, T?
Yeah, let's do it.
I would say our goal of this episode is to help you guys create an obvious yes pitch, like a pitch that a brand is like, yeah, obviously it makes sense for us to move forward with this. So let's take it back to the beginning and talk about all the ways that we maybe messed this up. Because let's be real, we have shared this before. We have learned a lot of this through trial and error. We've made a lot of mistakes. T, do you want to start us off with the mistake you made in some of your first pitches?
I feel like I almost like exclusively made mistakes early on, like after you get over that hump of being starstruck and people are like, that feeling of people want to work with me, people are going to pay for me for my content. Then you like pendulum swing in the other direction, trying to like capitalize on this momentum. And there were a lot of mistakes made in that category. So I think the biggest one is like, and I think most beginner content creators, education-based content creators do is I put a lot of emphasis in my pitches on me and like how cool my page is and how cool my audience is and how many followers I have. And, just like, this is what I have. Like, you could have this if you partner with me. Just like, where I think like it's important to balance that knowing what you have type energy, but I didn't put any focus on the brand and their investment and, what my content was going to do for them and the payoff and all of those things. It was like all about tea. And I bet you can guess how some of those pitches went.
Right. But I think it's so natural, especially like, once again, when this stuff is not talked about, when nobody is telling you how to actively pitch a brand, it almost feels like you start pitching for compliments and not for partnerships. Like you aren't thinking from the strategic place of like, how can I present myself as a brand partner? How can this be beneficial for both of us? And instead you're just like, hey, y'all want to pay me?
got these cool followers that listen to me,
Right, exactly. So I think in general, just keep in mind brands love you. They would love to work with you, but they are not in the game of just like handing out compliments or flattery. Like a brand needs clarity. They need to know what you are able to deliver for them if they sign you on as a strategic partner. So definitely keep that in mind. And we are obviously going to dive into some strategies for actually achieving that today.
Yeah, I think it's just a mindset to approach brands. Like, it will go so far if you're approaching brands with the mindset of a strategic partnership rather than like just a creator for brands to outsource their marketing to. Like it's a different mindset, and as you approach things through strategic partnership, um, you know, you get paid like a partner, which is different than just getting paid for a one-off piece of content. Anyways, so we obviously want to give you a very tangible, you know, resource to be able to pitch to brands, and we'll get there. And we just wanted to briefly cover, you know,
Yeah.
what brands actually look for in a pitch. Um, we're not going to go super in detail on these quick bullets because we're going to get into the meat in a second, but just high level. The number one thing that brands are looking for is a clear understanding like of your audience and how it overlays with their audience. And so that's something that we kind of talked about in the previous episode when we're talking about our media kit and communicating data. In your pitch, being able to communicate who your audience is, how it overlaps with their audience and their goals as a business is really, really important, and having that alignment. The second thing that we need to pay attention to is social proof. Like, as an education-based content creator, you know that you have trust with your audience. You know that you have authority. You know that, you create conversions in your business, but a brand doesn't know. They don't know anything about you. They can see your follower account. And you don't have to tell them your follower account. Like, that shouldn't be like the focus of your pitch. What we need to be able to communicate is, you know, that social proof of trust and authority so that your audience is valuable to them. And then lastly, a big one is a strong like why you and why now. There could be an amazing connection between you and a brand. Like, it can make so much sense for you to work with a brand, but maybe not now, or maybe now. You need to be able to communicate why it's really important to them to partner with you now in, when it comes to their strategic goals and how they're looking to convert and grow their audience and their business. And so clear understanding of the brand's goals and, your audience, social proof, and a strong why. So
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely. And I think on the other hand, we have to obviously talk about the things that are going to make a brand scroll right past your
Mhm.
pitches because let's be real, there's a lot of content creators out there, and there are a lot of content creators out there who want to secure brand deals. So, what makes your email stand out from the sea of other creators who are likely pitching the same partnerships? A brand only has so much budget. So, how do you ensure that your pitch stands out? I would say one of the biggest things to avoid is not including any proof that you've ever spoke on this product before. Like, for example, in the pitch I sent out this morning, I quite literally linked a video that I had already posted on TikTok that was a complete free, like me organically talking about this product and how much I love it. And that video like had social proof behind it. So I was able to be like, hey, I've talked about this product, loved it, would love to share it. On the other hand, if you reach out and you're like, I've never tried your product before, but I'd love to do a paid partnership, here's my rate. A brand has no evidence that your community is even resonating with that product. So that's a pretty much hard no. The second is like we touched on earlier in this video, but just making sure that you are focused on how you can serve the brand and not just how the partnership serves you as a creator. Because if a brand is going to invest marketing spend in you, they want to make sure that it's going to pay off for them as well. And part of the third thing that you should definitely be including in your pitches is a media kit or metrics beyond just follower count, because followers are one thing, but like we've talked about in former episodes, having an audience doesn't really mean much unless your audience is hot and actually converting. So, including proof of that is going to make a brand give your pitch a second look. Those components are what is ultimately going to lead to the obvious yes
Mhm.
and make a brand want to actually work with you.
Yeah. We just gave you the cliff notes, like, the high level cliff notes. I mean, there's so much value just in those 6 points we reviewed, but we're gonna give you more now. We're gonna, like, literally outline the psychology behind being an obvious yes to brands so that you can approach pitching with confidence. You have some sort of framework to follow. And, these I'm sure this methodology aligns almost exactly with the pitch that Kate just sent out and then heard back from the brand in literally 5 minutes. Like, that's what
Right.
we're going for.
Right.
The 5-minute pitch. We should honestly, like
We should honestly it's a new
5
formula we've
yeah,
invented.
5-minute pitch.
No, but let's dive into the psychology behind an obvious yes. T,
Let's do
start
it.
us off.
So, a lot of times we're thinking about brand deals of, like, what we can give a brand, which naturally that's part of it. But when you're pitching to a brand, really what you're doing is you're communicating, to the brand how risky or unrisky it is to actually work with you. Like, they're betting their money, their reputation, their campaign results on working with you. It's a big deal, it's a big deal. Here we are, like, I mean, I've sent out pitches maybe 3 or 4 a day at one point, so a lot of times it's hard for us to put a lot of weight on a single pitch, but from a brand's perspective, it's risky. And so our job is to, like, de-escalate that risk and make it super easy to be like, "Okay, I wanna work with her," you know?
And think about this as like a consumer perspective and not just spending your money on obviously none of us are spending money on likely advertising in our personal lives, but earlier this week, like I just invested in a brand new winter coat. Why was that an obvious yes to me? Because once again, like the timing lined up. It was on sale. This product never goes on sale. I've literally been waiting for it to go on sale for a year. Um, there was no risk in investing in this product at this time
Mhm.
because I could always return it or exchange it or whatever. So you as a consumer have insight on this as well and thinking about the ways that you go about making purchases in your own lives. When does it feel like an obvious yes versus where is there friction and when do you have to slow down before you actually pull the trigger?
Yeah, totally. That's such a good example. And we've developed this, we call it the NAICA 5 pitch method, to creating an obvious yes pitch. And the whole point of each of these elements of the formula is to reduce that friction and position you as a no brainer, 5-minute pitch. So we're just going to dive in. So there are 5 elements to this methodology, the 5C pitch method, and that is connection, credibility, concept, clarity, and confidence. And these are really the backbone of what we teach in the NAICA world. And so basically, if your pitch checks these 5 boxes, you are heading in the right direction for an obvious yes. So, Kate, you want to kick off with the first one?
Yeah, let's talk about connection. Obviously, as human beings, we thrive on connections. We thrive on social connections. Part of what we talk about at NAICA is embracing the social piece of social media. And so when we talk about connection, we are really talking about leading with a shared purpose. This is essentially you being able to communicate with a brand how the brand that you've been developing aligns with the target audience that this brand is also trying to reach.
Totally. And like you want to think about your pitch almost like how you think about creating social media content. And we like to put that connection piece right out at the beginning. Like, think about your email like a hook. Like, how are you hooking them to think about you as somebody that they want to work with? And so your first line, your first few sentences should really make brands feel seen. Like, you're not just some random person pitching a random brand because you see money in the game. Like, that's not the case. We don't want to flatter brands and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love you so much. I use your product. I use your thing." None of that. That's not gonna resonate with brands. Your ultimate goal is to build connection in a way that like makes brands feel like you guys have a shared goal. You share the same audience in different ways, and they come out reading your pitch feeling like, okay, they actually get us. They get us.
Right.
That just connection piece is so important.
And I think another part here with connection is also ensuring that you are connecting your community to a product that you actually believe in. If you ask yourself, like, would my community thank me for introducing them to this product? That is an obvious yes. If you're like, I don't think this is going to work very well. Like, I don't really see the value that this tool would provide to my community. You should not be pitching a brand, period.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, as we mentioned in previous, episodes, like, your brand is like a limited quantity. Like, you wanna if you think about your brand from, like, 0 to 100%, every time you lease out space in your personal brand to your audience, you're taking up a fraction of that. And I don't wanna, like, think about our brand from a scarcity perspective. It's just like you're taking up, like, prime real estate by connecting a brand to your audience, and so being very thoughtful on that connection piece and making sure there's resonance there is really important because you only have so much space to give away.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've talked about before with like vetting out inbounds as well. Like the first piece of this always has to be like, does this make sense for my community? If the answer is no, and you are just continuing to take unaligned partnerships, like you're not going to have a job as a content creator very long. No offense, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. I feel like early on, I don't know, Kate, if you've ever went through this phase, but like early on, I said yes to a lot of opportunities that I probably shouldn't have, just out of like the excitement of it. I was like growing my personal brand, like my social media platform was growing. Like I was just like, there's so much opportunity on TikTok. Oh my gosh. And
Yeah,
I didn't realize that when you say yes to brands that you might not necessarily be aligned with, you're saying no to other opportunities,
right.
even though I said yes to like all of
Yeah.
them.
No, I totally get that. And I think now I'm able to distinguish a lot earlier on like, I won't waste my time sending a pitch to a brand unless I'm like, I am absolutely 100% all in on
Mhm.
promoting this product to my audience. Same with inbounds. Like, I don't respond to a majority inbounds that I don't
Same.
see connection there.
Mhm.
So definitely, I would say that is the foundation that you build a pitch on is making sure the connection's there, making sure not only the connection is there with your audience, but also between your shared goals with the brand. Moving on to our second C, that is going to be credibility. And this
Yes.
is a big one. Big, big, big,
Yeah.
especially for educators.
Yep. And I think it's very easy to like overemphasize credibility a little too much
Hmm.
in pitches. While it's very, very important and you need to be able to prove the trust that you've built with your audience, because as an educator, that's what really separates us. Like we we have trust and authority. We like people listen to us and you have proof of that all over your business. Um, so we need to be able to communicate that to brands, but it not just be the central focus, which is, what we're kind of getting at this entire process.
Right.
Um, so
And there's also pieces of this when we talk about credibility. Credibility is not followers, period.
Mhm.
Credibility is so much deeper than followers. You need to prove to a brand that your community is engaged enough with your content that when you encourage them to take action, that they take action. That's going to come down to having a media kit or metrics on past paid partnerships. And this is just a reminder like you should be gathering metrics. And if you haven't done any paid partnerships yet, that's okay. Like you can gather these as you go. But when you're doing a paid partnership, pay attention to how it performed. Like ask the brand if they can share metrics on your affiliate link and things like that, because that allows you to set yourself up for more confident pitches in the future as well.
Absolutely. That's actually like a strategy that I wish I started a lot
Yeah,
earlier in my content
same.
creation business. I had one brand that I work with, and at the end of it, I was like, okay, my videos performed really, really well. And I want to be able to understand what that means in terms of conversion for them. So I just like at the close of the campaign, I straight up asked them, I was like, are there any metrics that you can provide that would communicate the performance of my videos? Like I see that I got a million views on, on this video.
Right.
But like what did that mean for you? And so this brand provided me a breakdown of, uh, clicks. They provided me how many signups, free signups there were and how many
Right.
converted into paid signups.
Yeah.
And it was very eye opening to me as a business owner, like in terms of understanding the value that my content's bringing to a brand. But then I took that data and the next partnership I pitched was my highest paying long-term partnership I've ever had. And
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of that came from being able to provide that hard data that really, communicated my credibility as a content creator.
And I think when we talk about Once again, the point of this episode is figuring out how do your pitches stand out from a sea of content creators who are pitching for the same, there's only limited budget. Like, how do you get a brand to say this creator's different? I think when you're really looking at the metrics or you're able to provide that, that's something that 95% of content creators are not doing. It also sets you up as a long term partner because it shows that you are really paying attention, not just to, okay, the check cleared and I got paid, but like, did this partnership make sense for the brand as well?
Totally. And before we move on to the third one, I just had a call with a brand yesterday.
Hmm.
Um, and a comment that he made was like, I don't hear influencers talk the way that you're talking. I don't hear influencers use the verbiage that you are using and reference the data that you are using. He might not have had like a true understanding of the influencer world and what those data points mean yet, but the fact that I was communicating like through that language and an understanding of my data and understanding of, just the content creation world and ROI for brands, like really stood out to him. And he's talked to a lot of influencers in the past. And so that just spoke volume to me because, that's definitely a gap in the influencer space or educator space.
Right. And I think that if you're listening to this and maybe you're a newer content creator who's like, I don't even know what verbiage to throw out in these conversations, we want to reinforce to you that, like, this is all learnable. It's all figure outable. You are not born with an inherent knowledge of how to negotiate an influencer contract. Like, that's just none of us knew how to do that. But you should start asking yourself, like, what are the stats that are popping up on your media kit? Why do those matter? What is an engagement rate? Quickly Google them or just keep listening to the podcast because we're going to keep diving into these things, but you can learn these things as you go. It's not something that, you have to know from day one.
Totally.
We talk a lot on this show about taking yourself seriously as a creator, and that means setting yourself up like a real business.
That's why we're really excited to be partnering with Taylor Brands. They're an all-in-one platform that helps creators and entrepreneurs like you and me form their LLCs and get their business organized.
When Chi and I decided to make Not an Influencer Creator Agency official, we actually used Taylor Brands to form our LLC, and the process was honestly so simple.
We were able to file from our laptops at home in like less than an hour. They walked us through the entire process step by step, and we were able to track the status of our filing right from within our Taylor Brands dashboard.
Taylor also offers additional services like helping you get your EIN or set up your business bank accounts, so once your LLC is filed, you've got what you need to keep moving forward.
Plus, tools like their finance manager can help you track your income and expenses as you grow, which, let's be real, is the part most creators avoid.
If you're a content creator ready to treat your platform like a business, search Taylor Business Builder to get started today.
So that moves us to our third C, which is concept. This is such an interesting one to me because it's not something that I typically did at the very beginning. But the idea of concept is to, within your pitch, paint a very clear picture of what it looks like to work with you, what it looks like, if they would say yes, what would the partnership look like? Kind of give them that clear visual of what collaborating with you
Mm-hmm.
and your brand would look like. Um, this is a very underrated part of a pitch because, I don't know if we just like inherently think that brands know what what to expect. I don't know. Like I never did it. I just never occurred to me because it kind of takes that extra step to think about, okay, I need to think about as the creator, what does it look like to partner with you? What might be some of the concepts that I would take them through? Even outlining my process as
Mm-hmm.
a partner so they know what to expect moving forward instead of letting the brand drive that. It's just really, impactful in a pitch.
Right. And we're not telling you to like write out your entire script with your hook, with everything, because we don't work for free. Like, we're not giving the brand a creative concept in full before there's like a contract in place. But what we are saying here is like, give them an idea for an interesting video that would resonate with your community. So, for example, I could create a short form tutorial showing people how this tool could save teachers time during a busy work week who also want to have a side hustle, and make it specific. Like, this tool can save you 3 hours a week, or this is how a busy working mom can create a new product for their Etsy store while they're literally in a drive through waiting on their coffee. That is the type of content that brands want to see. It's unique. It clearly resonates with your community and makes them want to say yes to a partnership.
Totally. Yeah, and to take it one step further, not to overload you with, like, a million things to do, but, part of, like, we have the data analytics part of our media kit, but then we also have, like, examples of our work and examples of our content. And so if you have examples that, types of content that it might not be the exact piece of content that you would use for a brand, but hey, this is the hook. Hey, this is the like teaching flow I could take it through that and direct them to that part of your media kit so they can actually see examples would go
Right.
a really long way.
Right. Absolutely. Shall we move into the fourth C?
We're just cruising here. Yes,
I
let's do it.
know. Let's talk about the fourth C, which is clarity. And in this fourth step, your goal is really to make the next steps as effortless as possible. You don't just want to make a pitch that essentially ends in, look forward to hearing from you.
This interests you.
Open-ended,
Ding
like,
me.
let's touch base
Yeah.
soon. No, you want to give the brand, like, a clear next step, and so this is something like you would do at the end of a video too, like, you don't just end a video and be like, "Alright, bye." You want there to be, like, a clear next step for your, you know, audience, listeners.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing when you're pitching a brand. So I would say something that I really like to do when it comes to next steps is I always am looking a quarter ahead. And I think that this is something where I'm thinking about how brands are thinking too, because I'm not pitching like this current quarter. I'm thinking about next quarter and what they're going to do with their money at that point. And so something I'll say is like, I'm lining up my partnerships for Q4. At this point in the year would be Q1. Would love to have you guys on board. Let me know if we can, get a spot locked in for January. And I know that might sound like it's far away, but it's actually not when it comes to brand partnerships. You don't want to have brand partnerships that are like so rushed. So I would say thinking ahead and making sure you are planning for the quarter to come.
Yeah. That's such a good point. And honestly, like that that brings so much credibility too.
Yeah.
Like that directness and that
Yeah.
like future focus, especially if you understand kind of like the flow of business and how like, what brand's entire year looks like instead of just like this part, no,
Correct.
you can speak to that in terms of your pitch and just like honestly, you saying that direct statement, I'm like sold Kate. Like obviously you're thinking about things from a strategy perspective. That alone is going to set you apart from so many people that are pitching.
Yeah. And I think also from like a brand's perspective, when I phrase it from like, I'm booking my Q1 partnerships now, it kind of gives them a little bit of like, "Oh, like, this girl isn't just available, like, when we wanna work with
Mhm.
her." It's like they kind of have to work a little bit more on my schedule, and you're not doing it in a rude way or, like, a way that creates false scarcity. It's like, "No, that's my legitimate process." Like, I am always thinking a quarter ahead, and once again, there's only so much space on my content calendar that I can give to brands, so if you want to work with me, we've gotta start thinking about those partnerships now, and I mean, I already have partnerships locked in as far as January of next year. It's October. And I'm not talking one brand. Like I don't have a one-off video booked. Like I have multiple partnerships, multiple contracts signed for videos that I will be doing in January of 2026 and it is October
Yep.
2025 right now. Okay?
Queen.
Like think ahead. Think ahead. And if that
Yeah.
sounds crazy to you, yeah, it sounded crazy to me like 3 years ago too, but
Mhm.
this is the way it works. This is how
Yeah.
you start thinking about content creation as a business.
Yeah. And like I know this is deterring from like, clarity in general,
Right.
but like you there's strategy in like involved in pitching and working with a brand and like you as the content creator you're not just somebody that's coming in and just like creating a video or two like Kate knows that multi videos across a span of time is what is going to be the most beneficial position for a brand to her audience and so that becomes part of the pitch like outlining what a strategy I mean not initial pitch but like partnering with brands outlining what that strategy looks like and positioning yourself, like we said a million times, as a strategic partner, because we know that one-off videos don't do anything for a brand. It's just like, it feels good to get it out there. You feel like you're checking a box, but that's not the case. And Kate's done a very stellar job at positioning herself as a strategic partner. and communicating to brands how impactful it is to have multi video campaigns over a span of time. This is so good.
Thanks for the compliment.
Kate just did so good.
My
Just so
gosh,
proud of you,
my
girl.
hype woman. Um, no, but I think that brings us to the 5th C, which is
Mhm.
confidence. And I think this is honestly something that so many content creators struggle with. Once again, because when there's a lack of information, you have no idea you feel like you have no idea what you're doing. You feel like the brand has all the power, and that's not reality. You as a content creator should be able to come to the table with confidence, knowing the value that you bring and be able to communicate that effectively with the brand you're pitching yourself to.
Totally. And I mean, I think that you're like getting this out of all of the steps we went through, but confidence just communicates that you have experience. And brands like, I've actually worked with a lot of brands that have absolutely no idea what they're doing in the creator space. Like, it always blows my mind because it's always very easy to feel like we don't have a lot of information or we don't have enough experience or we don't have enough examples in our portfolio. And then like I go and pitch to partner with brands that are like already kind of a part of my personal brand and they don't know what they're doing even
Right. But I mean,
remotely.
think about that from like a realistic standpoint, like the majority of people who work on a marketing team or even influencer managers, like they're not often content creators themselves. And we've talked about this in former episodes, but I want to work with brands who trust my expertise as a content creator, who give me creative freedom to create content that aligns with the audience that I have built myself. And so I think that a lot of creators are afraid to show up with confidence, but you have to remember, like, a brand is asking for a spot on your page. Like, you are the one who's put in the work in developing this audience. You are the one who has got these people who have rallied behind you and have found value in the content that you're providing. A brand is essentially running out of space on your platform that you have made. You deserve to show up with confidence.
Yeah. It's just so funny because that brand that I talked about, how I had a call yesterday, showed up and literally told me like, "You know your audience better, you know the industry better, you know what content resonates better, like, go. Do your thing,
Hmm.
queen," and it was
Yeah.
just like, you get it, and you're not always gonna
Right.
run into those situations,
No.
but for the sake of your personal brand, for the sake of your audience, like, you can spearhead those conversations, set the boundaries, and be like, "You know what? I think while that's great idea for that
Hmm.
video, like, I genuinely think this is the strategy to take, knowing what I know about your strategic goals as a brand, knowing what I know about my audience and what resonates with them, this is what is going to be most effective and provide the most ROI for you." And, like, show up with that confidence based off of what you know about, your audience and the brand.
Right. I think that's a part that, like, we've talked about red flags and green flags in partnerships, but like you want to find brands that trust you as a
Mhm.
creator. And when you approach these partnerships as, once again, partnerships and not just like, hey, I want to do a video with you, but actually like, I want to partner with you. I want to make this mutually beneficial. It's so much easier to figure out when a brand is on board and actually is going to give you that level of creative freedom. Um, and I mean, I think we can both probably, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but like, I learned a lot of this from taking on partnerships where I didn't show up with confidence and where I let a brand maybe tell me how they wanted everything to fall into place. And then you end up with a video that, one, doesn't feel like you, and two, doesn't go on to perform. And
Mhm.
nobody actually wins in that situation because your audience hasn't resonated with it. The brand doesn't get the ROI that they want. And then nobody's happy at the end of the partnership. So you gotta speak up and, you know your audience. Brands that are actually going to see benefit from paid partnerships also see the benefit in allowing you to make content that aligns with your community.
Absolutely. That's such a good yeah, and I've had those experiences and you're having one of those experiences when you're creating a video and you're like, I'm dreading sharing this with my audience. Like I'm like I don't it just feels like not good.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
100%.
yeah.
And we've all been there, and we've all been
Mhm.
in the situation where, like, I can remember you start getting that gut feeling that you're like, "This isn't going well," and then I can remember, like, at one point, I sent a video to a brand, and I had already gotten pushback on the script, thought we were, like, in agreeance, and then I can remember sending them the first draft, and they were like, "Actually, could you just, like, refilm the entire thing?" And I was like, once again, live and learn, because I would
Mhm.
never, if I started feeling those red flags early enough now, I think I would be able to communicate with confidence, like, "I think we're not aligned on this, like, let's get on the same page, let's jump on a call, let's talk this through." Um, so some of this is live and learn, but if you have ever ended up in that position before, use that as a learning experience. If you have not ended up in that position before, great. You know, use these tips to make sure that that doesn't happen to you.
Tune in to Accidentally
Yeah,
Influential.
please learn from our mistakes. Ugh.
No, that's so good. And just like one last thing to touch on this confidence piece, I just see like the ultimate goal when it comes to brand partnerships is longevity and sustainable partnerships over time. Like partners that keep coming back to you because you've created ROI for them. And so like making sure that we're, providing that ROI through through a strategy that aligns with our audience and aligns with with their goals is just so important because that's what's going to create partnerships that, you have videos booked out for the next 3 to 6 months already that have come back for multiple campaigns. And it all starts with really showing up confidently, like as a partner to create the best strategy for the brand and your own audience.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it, T. And so should we hit them with a little challenge
Yeah,
in the
let's do it.
because that's what we do here?
Yeah.
All right. So your challenge this week is to pick one brand that you have already organically talked about on your pages with enthusiasm. We want you to find a brand that like you love it recommending, you love using, and we then want you to use this framework and send them an obvious yes pitch. And if you're sitting there like shaking and you're like, I can't do that,
Ready?
I want to remind you that the worst thing they can do is not respond.
Yeah, which will
That's it.
happen.
Which will happen. It's happened to all of us.
Mhm.
So who cares? Put yourself out there. I mean, I don't know what else to say besides like, yeah, it sucks when you get rejected. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're asking someone out on a date or you're pitching a brand. Like rejection is part of the game though.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and
send the freaking pitch.
and every rejection is data,
Yes.
like, it's one thing to, like, get rejected and then send 20 more of the same pitch in the same way with the same strategy, you know?
Yeah.
Or there's like, "Okay, this, I didn't even get a response here, or I did get a response, and this is what they say." Like, what data quantitatively and qualitatively can you take in to change for the next pitch? And that's just like it's always learning from what you did, a mistake, what went well, and
Yeah.
building from there.
And you literally have no idea. Like, I can remember I have sent pitches to brands that I'm like, I don't know if this is going to fly. Like, I really don't know if this
Mhm.
brand is going to be interested in working with me, but it's a tool that I like really, really like, or it's a product that I really, really like. You would be shocked, even if you don't initially hear back from a brand. Like, I have heard back a year
Yeah.
later from a
Yeah,
brand who's like,
such a
"Oh
good
my
point.
god, just saw this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're obsessed. Would love to work together." You never know. So just start putting it out there and just because it's a no or it's a no response doesn't mean it's a no forever either.
Totally, totally. And on the note of your challenge, if you guys do pitch a brand using the 5C methodology and you post your brand video, you guys better tag us so we can engage the crap out of your brand
Yes,
video.
please.
We'll share
Please.
it, we'll like it, we'll engage with it. Just like please tag us. We want to like hype you up and just, help you get that bag.
Yes. That's what we're here for. That's what we're
Yeah.
here for. From the bottom of our hearts, thank you guys for all your support on the podcast so far. We are having so much fun with this. We're navigating like the technical side. The
Sorry about that audio,
the
guys, on the
audio
left.
quality side of things. We're learning how to like I mean, like talking to each other normally feels so natural for us, but I feel like
Yeah.
when you jump on a camera and you're trying to like film it, all of a sudden
Yeah.
we get those like initial nerves that come with creating content. So, seriously, thank you for being on this journey with us. We are coming back next week with quite possibly one of our juiciest episodes yet. We're talking money, we're talking rates, we're talking about the things that we actually know you guys want to talk about. And so, can't wait to see you there. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review, share it with a friend. email us and let us know what you think. Leave a comment on our social media. Any of that engagement helps so much. And you guys mean the world to us, and we're so glad you're here.
Thanks, guys. See you guys next week.
Bye.